is how you can increase your energy right now, today, to get over that hump of the afternoon slump. Or maybe it's a morning slump, midday or early evening. You're trying to get some project done and you're just feeling like you're not firing on all cylinders. You just don't have that clarity. You don't have that chutzpah, as we often say, or that energy to crank through. And you're feeling like, gosh, maybe I just need a nap. And I'm going to tell you, I'm going to be honest, I've had this myself. In fact, even in recent weeks here in Hawaii, I don't know if it's the heat, what is going on, but it is hot. We do not have AC. And there's something about the heat and making you feel a little bit tired. One of those things, I think, simply is just this right here, the hydration part of things. And so first, I would say big mover of the needle is simple, succinct, and it is hydration, hydration. There is no substitute, and the studies show that when you are as little as 2% dehydrated, which is not a lot, your focus starts to dwindle, your energy levels certainly are palpably lower, and the solution, so simple. Grab a glass of your favorite H2O beverage, primarily H2O, what the heck was I saying? H2O, of course, water. And if you can throw in some electrolytes, my favorite is from the company called LMNT, or Element, as often referred to, because it has not only the classic, which is sodium, potassium, but it has some calcium, some magnesium. It is amazing, tastes great, no added sugar. So you're not pumping yourself full of simple carbohydrates, which might give you a slight quick jolt of energy like they've always professed to do on the NBA and other professional basketball league, the big giant thing of Gatorade, which I don't know if it's actually Gatorade. I sort of hope it's not, because it's not the best rehydration beverage out there. It's just not. I'm going to be honest. I used to do that as a kid and teenager. I didn't know any better. But what I've learned in my latter couple of decades is that stuff is not awesome, because it's so loaded with simple carbs, sugar, fructose, high fructose corn syrup, whatever it is. It's generally not the best, and it doesn't have much for electrolytes. It's actually fairly devoid of electrolytes. So if you don't want to spend any money at all, just get good old-fashioned H2O, sprinkle in some Himalayan sea salt, and also a couple of, squeezes of lemon or lime. And not only does it have a little bit of that extra taste, it will hydrate you. And if you add a little bit of salt to that, even better. It can be so simple. In fact, the Ayurvedics have a practice each and every morning of drinking a full glass of water. We're talking 16, 20 ounces of water first thing in the morning when you get up. And this is one of my energy tips that I'll share with you. I've been doing this for, gosh, I don't know, about a decade now. And it's the first thing I reach for in the morning. I don't put ice in it, just kind of room temperature, or maybe just out of the fridge. So it's a little bit cooler than room temperature, which I enjoy here in Hawaii because it's hot. Full glass of water. And that initial glass, I typically don't put hydration salts and things in that one. But if you want to, that's totally fine. Here in Hawaii, I do probably 2 of those hydration packets over the course of the day, because I'm sweating. Even here podcasting to you, I'm sweating. So if you're watching me on YouTube and I'm glowing, well, it's hot. It's probably 80 degrees in this room. I got the fan going overhead, and I am a little sticky, which is okay, because I'm energized and I'm alive and I'm doing great, partially because I have my hydration beverage here. I have water, good old-fashioned filtered water that I have a reverse osmosis filter. If you don't have one of those, I'd recommend grabbing one. I also have a charcoal filtration in addition. And then I throw in some electrolytes. And this one has a little bit of a lemony pizzazz mix that I threw in there. I have lemons and limes that I just did the old-fashioned squeeze it and put it in there. So I am pumped. I'm ready to share this with you, but don't forget the simple things of hydration. The easiest way to do so is have a water bottle that you carry throughout your day. This beverage cup here is nice because it has that insulation, which allows me to keep it cool. I can throw ice in there. It'll last the better part of the day. Even in Hawaii, believe it or not, just some ice in there. It can be cool all throughout the day. I love drinking cool water myself personally. Helps with the heat that I'm dealing with right now. But room temperature water is just fine. Make sure you're drinking approximately 1 ounce per pound of body weight. So for me, that's going to be approximately 120 to 150 ounces of water per day. Here in Hawaii, that's about what I do. If you're on the mainland, you're not sweating a bunch, I would say 1 ounce per kilo, give or take maybe 1 to 1.25 ounces. Most people, somewhere in the 90 to 100 ounces of water per day is about what you'll need. If you can throw in some electrolytes at least once a day, especially in the summer, even better. If you're in a warm place like myself, or in Florida, which I spend a bunch of time every month, I'm going to do 2 of those hydration packets per day, because never underestimate the power of adding a little electrolytes to your hydration, and your energy levels, I promise, will be increased, and your mental clarity and focus will also increase. So hydration is key. It's what I reach for today and each and every day. My second favorite thing to increase my energy, especially during that afternoon slump, it's one of my favorite things to talk about because it's simple. We can all do it, is just get up and move your body. There's actually really cool study that it's been out for a while now. It was published, let me just pull it up for you, International Journal of Behavioral Nutrition and Physical Activity. This was published in November of 2016. So it's been out there for a while, but we forget. We simply forget. But this study is super cool because it talks about how adding in 5-minute bursts of exercise, and this was not using gym, weights or anything high tech. It was basically just going for a walk, adding in these 5 minutes every hour throughout the day while people were working. And they did this just to kind of compare what it would look like 30 minutes of straight walking in the beginning of the day versus 30 minutes broken up into 5-minute intervals every hour over 6 hours of the workday. Also 5 times 6, 30 minutes. They also got 30 minutes. And then the control group got nothing more than just whatever they were doing at their sedentary job at the desk, and they weren't doing any additional movement. And guess what? This is powerful, and this may not have been predicted. Both groups, both the group that did the 30 minutes of walking in the morning prior to the start of their shift, and of course the group that did the 30 minutes, but it was spread out over 5-minute segments throughout the day over the first 6 hours of their work, both got benefit. Interestingly enough, those that broke up that 30 minutes into the 5-minute segments actually got more benefit than those that did the 30-minute walk prior to the workday. Super interesting, because I would think for me and for a lot of people, plugging in a full 30 minutes prior to work, it sounds cool. And I'm not going to lie, like if you can do that in the morning, I would love to see you do that, because it will help. It is beneficial getting into the morning sunlight, fresh air, just on a simple walk before your workday. Palpably different. You'll feel better. It's good for the mind, the body, the soul also. But if you can't fit in 30 minutes like they did in this study, they had the second group, which just did 5 minutes at a time, roughly every hour throughout their workday, for a total of 30 minutes. They actually had more benefit. Let me just read this to you. So this is the effect of frequent interruptions of prolonged sitting on levels of energy, mood, food cravings, and cognitive function. And this is the first time I think this had actually been done in this fashion, where they compared the 30 minutes of walking all at once to the 30 minutes broken up in 5-minute segments. And they say, and I quote, "This study provides the first evidence that microbursts of activity," that's the 5 minutes, "during the day improve energy level, mood, and fatigue level while maintaining levels of cognitive function." It's the first evidence that these microbursts improve this and maintain cognitive function. And it's amazing. It was even stronger than just the 30 minutes all at once. They had benefits there as well, the 30 minutes prior to the workday, but they got more benefit from this microburst, which I find easier to incorporate, because we may not be able to allot a full 30 minutes all at once, but every hour during your workday, take 5 minutes, take a 5-minute break. Brendan Burchard has a little term he likes to use for this. I forget the term he uses, but it's about, he calculates it into his workday. Every 50 minutes approximately, he takes a little bit of a break, somewhere around 5 to 7 minutes, where he moves his body, does some breath work, maybe bounces around a bit, like I'm doing at a standing desk right now, does a little dance party in my home. We do 2 songs which is about this amount of time, 5 to 7 minutes. Put on 2 songs after every meal. Put on 2 songs whenever we're feeling sluggish, or like today, what I did right before this podcast, because it was hot and I was feeling a little bit low energy, although I'm usually billowing with energy. And I did this. I did a short burst, did a few laps around the driveway. We have a little concrete oval, we call it, where we just do laps around it, whether it be on a bike, a skateboard. I actually did it today on a ripstick. I'm just learning. Today is day 2 for me on a ripstick. And I'm wearing a helmet because I'm just learning this, and I hadn't done it before. But even in your 50s, you can learn new things. I promise you. I learned to ski about 2 years ago. So at almost 50, I was learning to ski a couple of years ago. I'm loving that. I never really skied my whole life. I've been snowboarding, but not skiing. And it's been amazing. So you can still learn things, new things at whatever age you are. And I would encourage that because it just makes life more fun. But remember that the simple things done repeatedly, like this movement we're talking about, even in 5-minute bursts, that's not a lot, can powerfully influence your energy, your mood. What do they say? Energy level, mood, fatigue level, and maintained cognitive function. So powerful, powerful stuff. And there's lots of physiologic reasons why movement is this potion, if you will. I'm gonna share this other study, which I thought was cool because we've, I think, all heard of this syndrome called chronic fatigue syndrome, or CFS, chronic fatigue syndrome. And I'm going to share with you, this may seem counterintuitive because folks that have this syndrome, they are tired all the time, like literally all the time. And what they found is that even folks that are chronically tired, if they move their bodies, they get more energy. Oh, here we go. Therapy for chronic fatigue syndrome. This was from the Cochrane database, which is one of the most famous review databases. So this is basically a conglomerate of many, many studies looking at chronic fatigue and exercise. This was published in 2017. And they say their summary and conclusion, and they had data from several thousand patients over the course of 8 different randomized controlled trials. That's pretty good. 8 randomized controlled trials. And they say patients with chronic fatigue syndrome generally benefit and feel less fatigued following movement, exercise therapy. And there's no evidence, this is strong, no evidence to suggest that exercise therapy may worsen outcomes with chronic fatigue. Also, they saw a positive effect with sleep, physical function, and self-perceived general health. So that's pretty cool. Sleep improved, their perception of their overall health and wellness, mood, and no evidence that it's harmful. This is chronic fatigue. This is the Cochrane database 2017. So cool stuff. There's another article which I read, which was cool. It was folks that had rheumatologic diseases like rheumatoid arthritis, other arthritides, psoriatic arthritis, you name it, achy bones, if you will. And they also had significant benefit, you guessed it, from movement, which is kind of counterintuitive because it hurts to move. Yet when they move, there's all these natural, both physiologic mechanisms as well as neurohormonal responses, increasing things like the natural painkillers, if you will, endorphins and kelphins. There's even these opioid-like body signals that are sent out to help relieve pain from movement. Like naturally, your body does this. It's super, they're called endocannabinoids, if you want to know the name, but super cool stuff. So don't underestimate the power of movement. Do it regularly throughout the day. Even if you only do 5 minutes at a time, just think if you can do that every hour for 6 out of the 12 to 16 hours that you're awake, you've already done 30 minutes in the day. So you are on track to exceed the 150 minutes that's generally recommended. There's this other study I want to share with you, and I hope I can find it because I found this fascinating. Because what it looked at, often we're looking at more high impact, greater sort of intensity. And I still love intensity stuff, but even the simple act of moving, whether it be at a lower intensity, the so-called zone 2 cardio. Let me just pull this one up, 30 minutes. They had this giant study out of, I believe it was Sweden, looking at this, and they used some sort of pedometer, if you will. It was like a, I use one of these fancy watches from time to time where it measures my steps. It's not that fancy, but they use something like that. And what they found, big surprise, is that there was significant benefit in all these things that we're talking about: mood, perception of healthiness, and the cool thing was decreased mortality. Like, these people actually died less often than the control group that wasn't getting this simple movement. And I think they also used walking. They said during their study period, they had an average follow-up 14 years. This was a Swedish study, and they looked at 851 men and women. It was called the Sweden's Attitude, Behavior, and Change Population-Based Study. And replacing sedentary time with just 10 minutes. They were looking at 10 minutes of either moderate activity or vigorous activity was linked to a 38% reduced risk of death. This was 10 minutes a day. 10 minutes. Like, holy crap, 10 minutes. And if you could do 30 minutes of movement, up to a 77% risk reduction in death from cardiovascular disease. Like, holy crap. So what I just shared with you, moving for 5 minutes, moderately intense, going for a walk, brisk walk for 5 minutes. You do that every hour for 6 out of the 16 hours that you're awake. If you can do it for all of those hours, I mean, holy crap, you're crushing it. You'd be up to over an hour of movement if you moved your body 5 minutes every hour throughout the course of the day. Can you imagine that? That's insane. 5 minutes. I think we can all find that in most of the hours of our day, right? If we just did it in 12 out of the 16 hours, that's a whole hour of movement, right? Yeah, 5 times 12 is 60 minutes, a whole hour. And we're usually up around 16 hours a day, right? Because most of us are aiming for about 7 to 8 hours of sleep. So it's doable, it's possible. If you don't do it every hour, that's okay. I have a little thing on my phone, and it's just a timer. And literally every 55 minutes, roughly, this thing goes off. And what I do is when that thing goes off, I make sure I do my movement. I put on 2 songs and I dance with my kids, or we go around the loop out here in the cement, bikes, skateboards. Now it's a ripstick. I'm working on my ripsticking skills. And I do that about every hour throughout the day. And at the end of the day, even if you do nothing else, most of us can easily achieve 30 to 60 minutes of movement with that simple 5 minutes an hour. And I promise you, even if you're at the middle of the busy workday, you have call after call, make the effort to move your body for a couple of minutes every hour. And I promise you, not only you'll feel better inside here, your mental acuity will be sharpened. Your brain has access to this neurohumoral chemical called brain-derived neurotrophic factor. And it's literally like Miracle Grow for the brain. Like, it amps up. It's like increases your mental acuity, increases your memory, your alertness, so many great, great things. And it's free, and it comes simply with movement or exercise. So I think I belabored that enough, but super, super cool stuff. Lots of data on movement. I think I shared most of what I wanted to share with you on that. There's another thing that I don't often talk about, which hasn't been studied as extensively, but when you're feeling low energy-wise, another thing that helps to elevate the energy level and the mood is connection. What I often call vitamin C for connection, connecting with somebody, whether it be a friend, a family member, work colleagues, somebody you care about. Even connect with your favorite feline or canine friend, your pet. Like, connection, that actually increases your mood and your energy levels. So if you have a moment, this is something that I've been experimenting with. So on my 5 minute of movement, maybe once a day, maybe twice a day, I'll hop on either I'll leave a quick voice message for a family member or a friend to say, hey, I'm thinking about you. And even if I'm not actually having a back and forth banter, because sometimes if you get onto a call, hard to put the phone down after 5 minutes. Maybe you got a work call coming up and you don't want to be rude and just do a quick call, but just leave a quick voice memo to somebody you care about during your 5 minute walk around your office building, up and down the stairs. Just say, hey, I'm thinking about you. Thanks for whatever. Maybe they did something for you. Maybe you just wanted to say how much you appreciate them in your life. I do this as often as I can remember with my immediate family members, like with my parents, my mother who's struggling right now with some cancer and things. And if I do this, it's so helpful. I need to do it more, to be honest. But this is one thing. I was just reading the data on it, and it surprised me. Let me see if I can find the data that talked about this specifically: subjective mood and energy levels among social support and chronic disease management. Here's one study from 2018, Social Science Medicine. This was kind of cool because it looks at how this vitamin C of connection, having social support, not only helps people feel better, improves their mood, energy levels, but also in this was very interesting. It's entitled Social Support and Chronic Disease Management Among Older Adults of Mexican Heritage, U.S.-Mexico Prospective. This also showed that social support had a significantly, statistically significant predictor of improved obesity and type 2 diabetes management. Just having that connection, like literally they improve their type 2 diabetes by having increased social connection. There's a lot of reasons for that, but this was super cool. Lots of other studies that look at how social support can increase your mood. It's powerful and it can be so simple. So put it on your sort of list of things as you go for your 5-minute walk. Maybe just leave one voice memo to somebody that you love or care about. Do that once a day, super easy. And on your other 5 minutes, just listen to music and move your body, do a dance party, do a quick lap around the office building or go up and down the stairs, whatever that looks like. Or just, if you can't leave the office, do what I'm doing right now. You're standing at your desk and you're doing some air squats. Like, just move your body. It's that simple, that powerful. The other thing, which I would be remiss, I'm not going to get too much into it because I wanted this to be a short podcast with accessible, simple tools, is of course, pay attention to how you are feeding your body, right? And we're not going to get into all the nitty gritty of what to eat and what not to eat, but I will tell you, it can be very, very simple. Try to eat real food throughout the day, whole foods, simple foods. In fact, start your day with protein, not sugar, not the bowl of Wheaties, not what I used to do, which, I haven't done this for decades, but I used to start my day almost every day with a bowl of, cold cereal, if you will. And I don't even eat cereal anymore. It's like crazy. I just don't have any desire for it. It didn't help me. What it did for me was it gave me a quick burst of energy. My sugar would go up and then it would drop more than I would like to what we would call a postprandial hypoglycemia. So I would sense a lower blood sugar after I'd eaten this, maybe by about 60 to 90 minutes. And I actually would feel worse. I would have a slump after eating something like that. Or in the hospital setting, I used to go to the cafeteria in the morning and maybe I would eat I'm embarrassed to even share this, but in Hawaii, we have this thing called a loco moco. And it's a couple of scoops of rice, gravy. The local folks love it, but it's high glycemic load, which gives you a quick burst of energy, but then you slump even lower and you feel worse about an hour later. So let me show you this study, which I think is enlightening, from the journal Appetite from December 1st, 2016. It's entitled Subjective Mood and Energy Levels of Healthy Weight and Overweight Obese Healthy Adults on High and Low Glycemic Load Diets. And so let me just cut to the chase here. Big surprise. The energy levels and the mood were better on the low glycemic load diets. Okay, let me just read you. So the consumption of the high glycemic load diet had a 30% higher score for depression and depressive symptoms compared to the lower glycemic load, as well as a 55% higher score for fatigue. So if you had the higher carb load diet, higher glycemic load diet, you ate that loco moco in the morning like I used to, you had more fatigue, more depressive symptoms, more mood disturbance. Not awesome. Not what we want, right? We don't want that. And so decrease your glycemic load. Best way I know to do this is to start your day with protein, And throughout the day, eat whole foods, primarily unprocessed, right? There's only 3 things to really avoid. And I say this too many times, but we're not doing it consistently. We as a society need to do better, and we will feel better if we eliminate the big 3. Highly processed grains and flours. Gluten is the tip of the iceberg here. I try my best to not eat really any highly processed grains and flours. Also, number two, highly processed sugars. Anything with significant added sugar, I don't care what it comes from, agave nectar, cane sugar, like whatever these added sugars, try to avoid that stuff. Try to avoid, especially the high fructose corn syrup, which single-handedly right now is increasing the risk of non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, which has now become the #1 reason for liver transplant. Like, holy crap, surpassed alcoholic liver disease, all these other things, hepatitis, whatnot. And we can completely prevent it by not loading up on these sugary things, right? Just don't do it. So highly processed grains and flours, avoid it. Highly processed sugars, especially high fructose corn syrup, avoid it. And then, of course, the third is the highly processed oils, the so-called seed oils, soybean oil, safflower, sunflower, canola, soybean, corn oil, vegetable oil, all of those things, highly processed, avoid them. If you need an app that'll help you if you're on the go, the Seed Oil Scout is kind of cool. It tells you what restaurants use better oils, which is not that many of them. The only one that probably you guys are familiar with that's more chain that's out there now is the Sweet Greens. They have a pretty good score on that app, and they're trying to use things like olive oil or avocado oil or coconut oil. And so avoid the big three and primarily feed your body real, whole, unprocessed foods. And if you can get your gut health up, in fact, one of the things that I see in my actual practice, working with many people over the years, is that one of the predominant symptoms people have when their gut is not healthy is fatigue. Fatigue. They're tired all the time. They have brain fog. They're not focusing. They're not clear. And it is one of the most common symptoms of poor gut health. And what can you do to enhance that? All of the things we've talked about already. Move your body improves gut health. Getting better sleep, which we haven't touched on yet, and I'll just quickly insert it here. Yes, sleeping can increase your energy if you're sleeping effectively, efficiently. You're going for that 7 to 8 hours, and it's quality sleep. The best way I know to do that is you gotta get rid of the devices at least 30 minutes prior to bed. Get rid of devices. Don't stare into the screens the last 30 minutes of the night. If you can do it for a full hour, bless you, because I'm working up to that. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't, but I try for that 30 minutes, not staring into the screen. I actually look at a paper book with a dim kind of red light. I have this headlamp with red light. Try to do that and just kind of chill, talk with my partner, do those sorts of cool down things at the end of the day, not staring into the red light. And then in the morning, I want to have that light wake me up, hit my eyes, go for a walk outside or a surf or ski in the wintertime, whatever it is, have that natural light hit my eyes in the morning. One of the most helpful, quick ways to increase your energy, get out into natural light, but interject that at night with 7 to 8 hours of quality sleep in a dark, dark setting. I've been wearing an eye mask lately because we're in Hawaii and our curtains are like this light color, and they do not block much for the exterior light. Which if it's full moon, it can be pretty bright outside. So I wear this silly eye mask. My kids make fun of me, but it helps me so much get those restful hours in the cot. So sleep, don't forget the power of getting that 7 to 8 hours of effective sleep. If you want more on that, I did several podcasts back in the, pre-100 episodes. We're on 180 today. Also, there's at least a full chapter, if not more, in my book, Preventable, that'll share with you my personal sleep strategy. So grab that book, Preventable, share it with a friend, has all the tools there, or message me. I'd love to help you out. So make sure you're getting that 7 to 8 hours of sleep. Make sure you're eating real food, high in fiber. That's from vegetables and fruits and all the really colorful stuff, and real protein, whether it be from fish or grass-fed meat, well-raised poultry, whatever your favorite sources of protein are. Let me tell you, though, if you don't eat any animal products, be careful, because your energy levels could be lower due to a lack of vitamin B12 or cobalamin. Vitamin B12 generally is one of the most common vitamin deficiencies in folks that are vegan, because it essentially comes from animals. It's from whole, real proteins, if you will. And these are from animal sources. Plant protein doesn't have B12, so get your B12 level checked. You can actually get anemic, kind of a gnarly kind of anemia called megaloblastic anemia from low B12 levels. You can also get neurologic problems from low B12. So if you don't know your number, get it checked. Vitamin B12, simple blood test, you can get it checked. Get it checked. You got to look under the hood. And if you need to supplement, I can recommend a great vitamin that has a really well absorbed natural B12 in it that is methylated. So your body knows it, recognizes it, and can absorb it very easily. B12 is important. End of discussion. Anyway, I want to share with you one final thought. And this is something that, this is probably obvious, but it's avoiding a couple of things that zap our energy over the short term as well as the long term and have many, many downstream negative consequences. And they may be obvious to many of you, but avoiding, or if we do this, like smoking, for example, just quit, because that will increase your energy right away. And you may not think this immediately, but there are so many reasons why. Tip of the iceberg is obviously you will oxygenate better. Oxygen is the lifeblood. It is what gives you the ability to have energy, to do things, to make ATP, to do what's called cellular respiration. And folks that are smoking, it's not helping. Your oxygen levels are diminished. It even, I hate to even share this because it's staggering, but there's also what's called carbon monoxide in cigarette smoke, which is a very competitive thing on the hemoglobin. It basically bumps off the oxygen, and you can asphyxiate. Many of you have heard stories of folks asphyxiating, not necessarily from smoking, but from too much carbon monoxide. That often happens in winter months, all these things, but you get a good dose of that from being a smoker as well. So stop smoking. You'll increase your energy. Also quitting alcohol use for the most part, because alcohol is, let's just be honest, at any dose, it's a toxin. It's a poison. It is literally a toxic alcohol. Ethanol, right? It's toxic. And at any dose, it's harming your body. We used to say, for the cardiovascular benefit, maybe a little bit of wine at night. And actually, there's no good data to show that that's not harmful. The alcohol at any dose is a toxin. And if you do like your beverage, try to limit it. Don't drink every night. Try to limit it to the smallest amount that gives you whatever it is you're seeking, a pleasure or taste or whatever. But I would urge you to have a look at that in your life, because not only is alcohol a toxin, but it's also expensive, right? And it will mess up with your sleep. You might think, but if I drink half a bottle of wine at night, I just drift off to sleep. It may get you to sleep, but you won't sleep as well. Like if you wear one of these trackers and you're looking at the quality of your sleep, I promise you, the nights that you drink, your sleep quality will be diminished. I've never seen it otherwise. Never seen it improve the quality of your sleep. What you will do is you'll fall asleep quicker, but you'll wake up. You probably have to pee. Alcohol has a diuretic effect. Not awesome. So 2 quick, easy things. Don't drink, don't smoke, or limit, especially the drinking. And I promise you, you will have more energy. And if you need help, there's a lot of resources out there to help you. Talk to your own personal physician, care provider to help you with these things, because they're simple, powerful, but you may need support. I have family members who have struggled with these kinds of things, and I actually have one of my dearest siblings who struggled for many years, and he's been sober now for a couple of years, and he looks like a new person. I mean, it's amazing how much better he feels now that he basically 0 alcohol in his life, and he is so much more energized than he ever was. It's amazing. It's like night and day difference. Anyway, I won't belabor that. Let's just wrap this up with one final thought. We talked about connection, which is sort of my secret vitamin C that we don't often think about. We talked about food and limiting sugars, and we talked about smoking and alcohol, trying to quit those things. Moving, we talked about that. One thing I haven't really touched on, which is, we'll just close with this thought, is empowering you to be able to optimize the stress in your life will also help with energy, because stress, as we all know, it kind of drains us. It drags us down for many reasons, especially if you have chronic stress. Like that's really going to be limiting your energy. You've heard of this thing called adrenal fatigue and all kinds of words that are thrown out there, but it's real. It's real as far as stress decreases your energy, whatever you want to call it. I don't care what you call it, but burned out syndrome, adrenal fatigue, whatever. There's so many. You're tired, yet you're wired at night. You can't fall asleep. It's so many things that chronic stress will cause you. And one of them is just fatigue. You're tired. You're zapped. You don't have that pizzazz. You're not having the clarity and sharp focus. You're just feeling a little bit of that brain fog, and optimizing the stress in your life. A couple of quick, simple, easy things. Breath work is one of my favorites. You don't have to do a full-on Joe Dispenza, 30 to 60-minute meditation. If you can do that, my hat goes off to you. Tipping my hat right now on YouTube. That's amazing. I personally don't have a long sort of meditative practice on a daily basis. I do quick bursts, a couple of minutes of eyes closed, hand over my heart, some specific breathing that I do that helps me tremendously. I actually have a goal to attend one of Joe Dispenza's retreats because they are mind-blowing. Everybody that I've talked to, including a good friend, JJ Virgin, she started doing this in the last couple of years, this meditative practice. I want to add that in right now. I haven't figured out how to fit it into my busy life, but I do bursts of 5 or so minutes, a couple times a day of breath work, and it's powerful. One of my favorite stress optimizing techniques is just the movement we talked about. One of my favorite ways to de-stress, move your body. Eating, as we've talked about, whole, real foods, antioxidant-rich foods. So many ways. I have at least a full chapter in the book about how to optimize your stress. There's several podcasts I've written on it, but be aware that not only are we all exposed to chronic daily stress, but we do have a choice. One of my favorite studies of all times, which was, I think, Journal of Psychology 2012, where they looked at like 80 or 90,000 people, and what they found that was the most powerful with respect to the stress that we're all feeling, because we all get some kind of stress, was not just the presence of stress, but it was our response and the meaning that we attached between our ears to the stress. If we believed that it was bad for us, well, guess what? Self-fulfilling, it was bad for us. Negative impact, people had a higher mortality rate. But if we did not believe that, and if we believed it could be a tool, it could be powerful, it could be useful, it could be a growth experience, we could actually be better off because we grew from whatever stressful event or what have you. We looked at it, we in our minds gave it the meaning that could be something positive. It was actually helpful. It actually decreased our mortality, having stress, but it was our meaning. We attached to it. We decided, we made that decision that we were using this as a growth promoting experience, and it became beneficial. It actually had a protective effect. The actual study, I quoted it in my book, Preventable. So go grab a copy or look in your book in that chapter on stress. I start with Hans Zelwig, his quote on stress. It's not the stress that kills us. It's the meaning that we attach to it. We get to decide on how we view that. Anyway, that's enough for today. I was hoping to get you 30 minutes. I gave you 40, so I hope that's okay. Feel free to message me on Instagram, Dr. Thomas Hemingway. You can even send me an email, alohasurfdoc@gmail.com. Reach out to me, go to my website, thomashemingway.com or drthomashemingway.com. Send me a message about if you want to learn more about my concierge practice that is starting up. So many cool things on the horizon. I got some new courses that I've just released, which have a lot more of me, and they are powerful. That was so funny. That was my kid from back in the day who did that. But thank you for being here. Thank you for being part of the show. Thank you for taking time out of your very busy day to listen to this. I so appreciate you. If you haven't done it already, please, please, please let me know by dropping a review over there on Apple, or drop a review of my book on Amazon. In fact, I wanted to share a review that I got recently, and I will do that super, super fast right here because it was entitled Very Practical and Empowering, 5 stars by MB in Texas. Thank you. I love Dr. Hemingway's upbeat practical strategies to live your best life. His enthusiasm is contagious, and I've learned so much from this book and his podcast. I highly recommend. And if you haven't done that already, drop me a review. Please, please, please. I will read it. I promise you. I may share it here on the show. And you may even get a free copy of my book. I've given away a couple already. Going to give away a couple of more. So drop a review on Apple. Tag me. Let me know. I'll read it as well. Drop a review on Amazon. Make sure you share that out. Get this book out to everyone you can think of, because it is powerful. It is simple and doable. You've got this. You can do this. Doesn't matter where you are today. Start making these simple modifications, enhancements, changes that we talked about today. We talked about 5 or 6 different tools that will help you boost your energy, get over that afternoon slump, and just be thriving and not simply surviving life. So I hope this is helpful. I would love to hear from you. And until next time, aloha.